Hey guys, so this is an important lecture. We are covering digital PR and content. And so we skip over a lot of different subcategories of this. There's a lot of other bulky lectures that we can do instead of this one. But this is really important. And the reason is that a lot of things actually roll up into this. Out of content and digital PR, it's a very special relationship. And truthfully, there should be some sort of unique name for what this is. But how we define it, this is digital PR and content together. Um, what we're going to look at is just content. Maybe that is the best way to call this is just content. What has enough value that it can be pitched to other people and shared by other handles in a way that grows organic visibility and kind of gives you this sort of traditional PR benefits for general awareness. So one way to look at this is that this is really the highest form of content. Anything you can create, there's a lot of places for it. It can be a landing page, it can be an ad, it can be just some SEO content. But making something good enough where a newspaper that just shares the very best information on the web, making it good enough so that place can share it, that gives you a sort of a trophy, and it takes really a lot of work and a lot of effort to get there. But it is the most potent tool that you have, probably to long term to drive long term growth organically and really just gain organic visibility for your brand without having huge amount of investment or whatever else. Press and word of mouth is at the heart of marketing. It always will be, and this is really the example of that in digital, mapping all of that out and making this mechanical. And so what this comes down to is content. Any form of content, all of the different shapes and sizes that you can create content. It could be a social post, it could be a video, it could be an article, it could be all of these things together. Any sort of format that makes sense. Maybe it's just downloadable. Maybe it is an article with a podcast where you have an interview that's part of it. Just taking an idea and a concept that you have and just finding what is the best way to demonstrate that digitally, and how is this going to maximize my own resources and my own time in a way that I can successfully launch this. All of this, it's not just a matter of saying I'm going to do this and this and this. So what makes sense for you? What can you make that's really good? That is, actually worth sharing. Is truthfully, it's not that simple, and there are certain realities that you have to face on your capabilities, your resources, and what you can really deliver in terms of like quality content that's going to get press pickup. And part of this presentation and part of this lecture kind of in the background is, if you want to do this, you have to be honest with yourself and like how much your content can realistically achieve, because the reality is everybody tries to do this and everybody fails. So content marketing is um, content marketing, everybody does. And if depending on how you measure success, everyone's successful. They put up an article, they put up some blog post that looks cool and has some value for people. But what is the real return on that individual content? And what is the total benefit of all that labor translated into every individual like digital property and URL or creative asset that you're putting out? A lot of the time, especially for kind of small, medium-sized businesses, it's not a lot, and it's really just like a lot of companies create a blog and just put out crap to have a blog, for a lot of generally operational reasons. It's kind of the same thing here. It's quality and what you're able to produce is going to make a huge difference in what that does. And maybe it's maybe it's fine, maybe it's just something you need to do to keep the business running, all the different channels you're running. Ultimately your business is profitable, everybody's happy. But if you have a specific goal now to take that content or take that social asset and make it good enough so that a reporter or a blogger or an opinion leader is going to share it, it changes the game, because that's the goal. The goal is not publishing on your own stuff, it's getting it on somebody else's platform. Anything that's content, anything that has an audience facing it is fair game. Content marketing is a holistic approach. Like anything on the internet counts as content. That's really like the sum of it, and the different ways that you can translate that, whether it's on your stuff or someone else's, it really doesn't matter, because you're in control of what is on that content. Um, if you want to go like the 30,000 foot view on just the different types of content that you're going to find, generally it is everything falls into these three sorts of pillars. Informational content. So this can be just providing basic information or just education, something that adds to somebody's knowledge. Your local newspaper, that is informational. Reading some updates from your friends, that can be informational. um, Entertaining content. This is also a very good chunk of what we look at as the internet. Something that provides amusement and enjoyment. Capturing your attention, any emotion or whatever way that somebody can amuse you with any image or video. So a lot of stuff just falls into these two things. And then commercial content. Obviously, if someone's trying to sell you something and there's some sort of store involved, if it's like product stuff, this is kind of like the virus of the internet in a way, just always trying to replicate itself and weasel its way into everything else. But this is the internet, and so where that commercial content falls into, and kind of how it's displayed, obviously makes the difference in how seriously it's taken, and whether or not someone's going to buy your stuff. Um, what um, what we want to focus on typically is in this sort of digital PR, content marketing context, is social content, something that is shareable, something that can be translated into a creative asset. Again, we've talked about creative for social media. We've gone through all of that, but that was very specific to social. What this is going to be is taking an idea and fitting it into all of these, fitting it into an article, fitting it into, taking the same article about, some new research, like the emoji article that I just shared. I published this lecture for the class, taking that and fitting it into a blog post, fitting it into a social media post, fitting it into a podcast, uh, fitting it into a white paper download. Combining all of these, this is really the articulation of a great idea, something that is going to draw a person in, and the way you publish it, and how you market that is kind of the difference in execution that will depend on your resources. Um, any idea is a cool idea, and execution is important, but when you're talking about somebody who gets 100 requests a day from interesting, cool ideas, when you're talking to someone who has to make these decisions all the time, you have a pretty narrow opportunity to get something in front of this person that might be unique or interesting or have enough value for them to consider publishing. Um, and there's a lot of ways that you can kind of think about this and build out what you're doing. But what you're defining in your head is the value. What is this benefit that the audience is going to get from a given piece of content? What is this perception that they have in their head for whatever you're putting out? Credibility is a factor in a lot of different content. Um, content that fits a certain need or unique psychological profile is a huge factor, and all these things is just on a list of considerations. But value is in the center of this. Um, Visual content that has a lot of value over text. That is going to win over somebody's attention much more easily. Um, Understanding the preferences and this audience behavior, whether that's demographics or something specific to your business, lifestyle trends. That's this critical part of the ideation process where you're coming up with ideas. Format is less important. Obviously, it's the difference here is just how you're putting an idea into all these million formats. But whether or not you do a video or just an article or a microsite is probably not going to matter anything as close to the actual content. But it does make a difference. I mean, Gen Z video content, that is a pretty big deal. And resources and planning all this out, that may be just a consideration for you on narrowing down your great ideas on what is going to make sense per platform. um, Personalized and relevant content, that's the buzzword of the past 3 years that just continues to get thrown around and really is taking center stage in a lot of these tech updates. All of the AI technology, all of the stuff that's coming in on our social feed, it is for us. It is specifically from our individual clicks, all the things that these systems register on, what is their identity, interests, what kind of stuff can they put in front of us. We have to do that same thing for content marketing, except we don't get any of that technology. We just need to guess and pull in as much information and data as we can. Relevance, when you think about it abstractly, isn't that difficult. Individual preferences, just looking at what's popular in social media, that has a huge opportunity, and you're not going to be that far off and just picking a top 5 content topic and matching that up with any sort of magical super smart pick that an AI system might throw out. There's a lot of great ideas. There's a lot that you can pull out from just understanding what's relevant, what's timely, what's going to drive engagement. Uh, Simple things like education, and that's a lot of YouTube content. People just going on YouTube to learn and watching a cool video about like home improvement for 15 minutes. It's not all of this is difficult, but then again, it's not that difficult. Some of the best ideas, some of this, most successful PR pitches, they're simple, they're clear. Uh, Boil down what is going to benefit that person, what is unique and relevant about that content. Um, so let's just go through different ways to look at that. And this is a little abstract. There's overlap here. In those 3 pillars is really what you need to have baked in your head. But when you're going through specific content ideas, These are really great group categories that you can group things into. And some things are still like informational, just that big content pillar. Uh, gain knowledge, understanding, and any sort of depth. Entertainment. A lot of stuff just falls into entertainment. Um, Practical value. So, practical advice, tips, solutions to problems, how-to guides, reviews. Uh, all of this is popular. It's been popular for a long time. Stuff that helps people perform simple tasks is a winner. Emotional value, a little more complex, but you can build a lot on an audience's feelings and kind of doing your own kind of creative exercise and creating something unique and compelling. Well, difficult, but you can do a lot with emotional value. Um, I'm interested in animal welfare. Just in my own, personal content, and there's a lot in there that is totally built around this kind of emotional aspect, where all their engagement is just coming from this, unique connection between what a person feels when they see, this picture of a, orphan elephant and whatever else. Inspirational value. Awesome category. It is much needed right now on the internet. If you obviously see all the stuff that's happening lately, things that inspire action, things that can change behavior, or get somebody to engage with a community. A lot of opportunities. It's also visual value. This is a little bit different. I would say this is maybe one of the smallest categories you'd find. Instagram has a lot of this, but it's pretty dependent on niche communities. Humor, huge topic. Less of an opportunity for content marketing. You're not going to do a ton of. You're not as likely to have a ton of success in a strong story pitch for something that's humorous, and it's possible. Curational value, so sorting through a list of stuff and just doing the heavy lifting and picking out all the best, uh, you know, uh, muffins for sale in New York. Making up something random here. I mean, there is opportunity there. I mean, it's cluttered and massively overdone on anything, and you're going to have like a heck of a hard time trying to do this curation on something like electronics, for example, because everyone's in that for affiliate money. But there's unique categories, and it is pretty common for more commercial PR pitches to find this sort of stuff. On interaction value, so any piece of content that's just bringing conversations together, maybe just asking a question, it could be a social post that counts, or something that's like an interactive microsite or a quiz or a poll study. This is a relationship moment, and just this unique category where you get a bunch of random types of content that you can pull in here, and probably less common for a strong PR pitch, but something to always have it, in the back of your head as an option. Um, Trust and credibility is going to be a huge factor, especially when you are trying to get to some of the big dogs. For example, like my marketing business, my business partner Sean, if I wanted to pitch something to Ad Age, or one of these leading publications, typically covers A-list agencies, they would need to look at us and look at our content or whatever we're sending and see that trust and credibility. They're not going to put our name on their magazine without that trust and credibility. And this matters a lot more when there's data and research. Uh, Large brands in general are going to have an advantage. I mean, if you're working with a large brand, a lot of scenarios where trust and credibility is a factor you don't even need to worry about. But when you look through all these different factors in digital PR and just pitching a story, trust and credibility, huge factor. Usually you're trying to jump into somebody who has already earned that trust. For example, New York Times, great newspaper. It is America's newspaper of record. If you somehow manage to get a link or a mention or some sort of PR, win in like when I worked at Red Bull, we got our events on there pretty regularly, and Red Bull's a little unique with that. But any brand that gets a mention on New York Times, oh man, they're celebrating because that does not happen often. When the New York Times makes that decision, they are passing on a lot of trust and they are passing on a lot of benefits to you. And so and this is part of that big trophy that is at the very top of the hill in PR. If you make the best, most awesome, amazing content, you have a shot at getting that prize. You have a shot at getting picked up by a tech reporter in the New York Times, and all of a sudden your little 3-man business is now a 20-person company because you just got 1,000 orders in like 15 minutes of being on their website, and now Target and a bunch of retailers want to have their product in your store. Like this happens when a big media outlet mentions you, and so the trust and credibility that these media publications command is at the center of all the audience, all the content impressions that they can give you. It's just this longevity and this personality that they've built, and it matters. In some cases, you have to convince that you are trustworthy and credible. Like if I'm a crappy little company and I look like if my company looked like it was made by like a 15-year-old that doesn't know how marketing works, that would hurt a lot in getting any sort of opportunity for press. People just wouldn't take you seriously. So this can work both ways. Um, Validation from individual users is also very important. So when influencers share your content, when anybody shares your content, that is a form of validation. And for a lot of people, that carries enough weight where uh, it makes a big dent in on all these factors on how much a person will trust the message or make a decision on whether to buy something or not. And it may be very different individually per user, but traditionally this has had a ton of weight. Personal recommendations are still carry a huge amount of weight, especially for product purchases. um, what you need to consider is that when you look at brands and media outlets and people you're going to pitch, there's also a huge list of influencers and opinion leaders, people just with a lot of social followers. 100% on the table, an option for you to pitch and share and try to win them over in endorsing your content. It's much less likely now, just because this is so monetized. Everybody wants money to share your stuff, and they want you pay for the clicks and everything. But so that not everybody operates from that premise. And this isn't about a math formula and like working with a transactional system. This is about you having something so awesome that the other person wants to share it. Don't jump into anything PR or you know sort of content marketing with an assumption that you're going to have to pay, because that's not the case. Ends up, a lot of people end up like making that a hard stop, especially like the influencers. But and that should not be your approach for content marketing. Um, so the whole shebang with this process is outreach. So reaching, literally what the word means, just reaching out to people and trying to pitch them on what whatever you have that's interesting and worth sharing. Takes practice. It takes typing and seeing what works. It varies from industry. Uh, you're also just building relationships. Anything that you can ping someone with and they form an impression on you, that adds to something. And so we've had this in our course. We've had this personal branding lecture that we started with, and what is someone going to think about us when they get a 10-second snapshot of our life? Who are we? From that 5, 10, 3 seconds that they looked at our profile and then forgot about us. Moments like those matter. When you ping a journalist, when you pitch your company, when you pitch your story or article, whatever they came off with on that like 3-second lasting impression is going to absolutely be a hard variable in the outcomes from your PR interaction with them. Every little thing that you can do to build credibility, to make yourself more appealing, to make your content more appealing, it matters. This is a compounding effort, and yes, it is a matter of them saying yes or no to your email or phone call, whatever, probably email, but ideally you are building relationships. I mean, some people will just ignore you forever, and that's inevitably the case in a lot of digital PR, but uh, a lot of those emails go through and they may be ignored, but they see your name, and if you're persistent, sooner or later you're going to get through. Relationship building is becoming harder. PR is becoming harder. Everything in marketing evolves and gets more difficult, and that's just the nature of business. But uh, there is this sort of I guess a good analogy. You probably heard on the news, like, yeah, the billionaires are getting richer, and the gap between the rich and the poor is getting bigger. Well, that's sort of happening in media as well. Interestingly enough, the gap between everybody else and these big media outlets that get a ton of impressions is kind of growing, and there is just a lot more. Uh, the benefits and opportunities in other channels are drying up a little, or I would say becoming less impactful, but PR is still there. PR is still the heavyweight. And so, as a lot of other things are evolving, digital PR and PR is still standing, at the center of all of this, word of mouth as this heavyweight, really, really huge opportunity marketing channel for people that are persistent. And that means that a lot of people are in the game, a lot of people pitching stuff all the time, and that's just how it is. um, Start with audience. Everything in marketing, always start thinking about your projects, about your work, with what the audience is. Look at what outlets they read. Look at the demographics. SimilarWeb is a great platform to find related websites. Just looking at user behavior. Uh, Journalists, if you're if specific media outlets or like a more traditional news outlet is something you're targeting. Journalists cover beats, crime beats. Well, that's probably not going to be something you're pitching, but there are like tech reporters, there are health reporters, and finding out who they are, finding out who are the people to know is part of this research process. And there are a lot of tools. There's a cost, and it's not like the barrier to entry here. But you can sign up for Muckrack, for example, and I can't remember what the price is offhand, but that'll give you your list of journalists, and you can just start right there and start pitching people. Relevance with trending topics. So like relevance is has a broad meaning, and how something is personally relevant to you. But trending topics is just this unique thing that is going to be like pretty well defined. So when something is popular right now, like this is the worst example. You're gonna think I'm a huge nerd. Like when Pokemon Go is really popular, that is a trending topic. That was just like all the rage for a few weeks, and kind of a few months after that. There are a lot of places for you to research and kind of look at what is the zeitgeist, what is trending, what is in the news. Google Trends is free. Just type in Google Trends and check out what people are searching. Google pulls a lot of weight in pulling out information in how people use their search engine and the different words and topics that people are interested in. 100% free. Just dive in and ton of useful data. Historical data is not going to be as useful as from my own personal experience, depending on topic, but it's still like amazing tool. BuzzSumo, that should be kind of your second choice if you're like a dedicated content marketer. Awesome tool. Just lets you dive through very specifically for this purpose and just find content topics. This is a tool that is built for getting ideas for content. Feedly. So Feedly is a RSS aggregator. It just pulls in articles. It's really interesting. I used it for a number of years. It's not made for marketing. It's not made for pulling out ideas. It's just you know aggregating articles, but it ends up being super useful, just for you to kind of go through this long collection of content and seeing like what is popping, what patterns am I seeing, what is useful. Reddit. Reddit, interesting platform. It's a platform that I am working a lot with. Really interesting, just recent updates with Chat GPT. I'm more concerned about like structural stuff with Reddit right now, as it's a great platform. There's a lot of account issues, and just for the advocacy stuff I work on, like that's kind of where I'm focused. But for everybody else, amazing place for content ideas. There's a lot of benefit in kind of this authentic user information, as everything is a public forum. So when you look at social media and how accessible content is and how you can kind of dive through and like browse conversations, Reddit's pretty unique. Like this is just a big library of very easily accessible topics and conversations where you can just spend hours and hours just reading stuff. And that's different. You can't do that on Facebook. Private profiles. You can kind of do that on Instagram, but Instagram's a visual platform. You can kind of do that on TikTok, but TikTok is not. You can't absorb the information in videos. So Reddit is very unique in the way that this information is open and available to you. And if you sort through top content topics on a lot of different subreddits, you will have some of the best content ideas you'll ever see. Guarantee it. It's just Reddit has a unique, very unique community aspect to it that you will see in the quality ideas that you can pull out. SEMrush. So this is one of like a search engine tool, but they have a lot of great tools. It's one of the most popular marketing tools in the world. Super useful for keyword research. Traditionally what is SEO? Like any sort of content idea is going to be very interesting and unique here. Not great for trending topics, but understanding topics in general. And similarly for Ahrefs. So that's another kind of SEO tool, but still super useful for understanding and kind of learning for your own research. All right, so a lot of kind of conceptual process stuff. What do people pick up? what are you going to actually make an interesting content piece about, whether it just ends up being an article or an article in a blog post, an article in a white paper or microsite. Uh, Here are some winning categories. This is really effective, like what you're going to see out into in the wild. Data and research. So I have a love-hate relationship with this. It's just a simple, easy win. It's very difficult to find the right data and make the decision on kind of where to invest your time and money. But like if I want to spend $2,000 or something and do some unique research and spin it into something that sounds like it costs a lot more than $2,000, you can really convince a lot of journalists to write an article that sounds a lot more scientific than what your $2,000 worth of surveys actually is getting you. Um, it's something people want to know. It's people respect science and knowledge and education. When someone sends you something about, oh, new research indicates that this and that, well, that carries weight. It carries credibility. It's a winner for journalists. They're always willing to pick that stuff up. Solid opportunity. Um, I like research and data in general, so I'm a little biased, but it's a winner. Just you have to be mindful that it's very easy for you to think you're going to have a winning content piece here, but the reality is that some stuff gets pitched and repitched and done all the time. So you really need to make sure what you're doing is unique. Where you're spending your money and getting this data is unique and it fits into something that hasn't been done before. That's really the key here. Research is supposed to be about stuff you don't know. What do we not know, and what is interesting that we can find out. Thought leadership. So all the stuff on LinkedIn, like that, thought leadership. I mean, LinkedIn has a lot of problems now. Everybody's a thought leader. Everybody has valuable BS comments that sound the same, but people look for authorities, and it is harder to find those authorities because it's just everywhere. But especially if you have this kind of career personal brand and experience where you can kind of communicate credibility and trust and build this impression or perception of for yourself as an actual leader that's worth somebody's time, it's a good opportunity. This is also an area, especially for B2B, it's so congested. Everybody's an expert. Everybody wants to write articles. So if you're going to do thought leadership, be prepared for combat. Like this is where people get a billion requests every day. Solutions to problems. So very common. I think it's a little bit harder for this to get picked up, but if you have a unique sort of problem that you've identified with consumers and you have something that makes sense, absolutely pitch it. Some stuff can be, I think this can be more bland more often than not, but the solution and problem obviously are going to be like super unique to whatever category and stuff you're pitching. Human interest stories. So this is a really interesting area that journalists, especially like local media, really, really like. I don't know why exactly, but they love this stuff. Something that connects with a reader on a personal level. Emotionally salient content. So this kind of a lot of stuff can kind of fall into this. Stuff that will make your aunt or your grandma or whatever all feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Like this, journalists and media love this stuff. You're going to be a lot more stretched to find something like this that makes sense for a brand, but it is very appealing. Analysis and trends. So this is similar to thought leadership. Everybody's an analyst now, so you just need to make sure that you're doing something unique and worthwhile. Trends that is unique and interesting. Just make sure you spend time and do this in a way that has value. Like everybody knows Gen Z stuff, for example, in marketing. What if I wanted to do an article about trends, like it would really about Gen Z, it would really need to be, unique and compelling, because Gen Z is so just as a broad category, super overdone. Find a trend for something unique, and it's consider that just that value conversation that we started with, and just think about all the different variations. What can be a trend? Where? Why? How? These specific article types. This should be kind of the last way to frame your opportunities for your brand, for your business. Uh, Regulatory changes. So this is a little bit unique, but hey, I mean, if this is great shot in getting into a business journal. If you're a plumber, you need to know what the plumbing codes are, and well, that might be too specific, is actually as an example, but it is a great opportunity for especially for like B2B stuff, or where that makes sense. Um, Look at what gets coverage. This is the simple way to find out what the benchmark is, what is going to be a winner. Uh, uh, don't expect everything to come overnight. Spend time building out ideas. You're trying to make the very best idea. You're trying to make the very best content. Uh, Ultimately, execution can kind of ruin your idea uh, a lot more easily than just not quite having the right idea. In my opinion, that's a little more subjective, but you should be basing all of your ideas and expectations off of what you see happening with your competitors, with the journalists, what they're already publishing. So pitching, this is, it's an art form. Uh, Practice makes perfect. Make it unique, tailor it to who you're pitching it to. Compelling subject lines make a difference. Whatever you're sending, make it brief, direct. Any sort of media assets you can include. And if there's a process for pitching, you'll probably follow that. I mean, you can weasel your way in, someone's DMs maybe, but if people want you to submit through their form, you should probably do that. Relationships. So we talked about before. You're building your profile, your identity. You're building relationships with places that may pick up your article. Uh, Follow people on social media, ping them, comment on their stuff, create a connection. This is the center of marketing. This is word of mouth marketing, and that's a based on individual relationships. Someone telling another person that this is awesome. Well, if you're building a relationship with that person, then that's your ticket. So never forget that as kind of the crucial aspect here, and do not neglect these relationships. We're in like post-pandemic mode. Everybody's kind of lonely and spending too much time indoors. It's a good way to meet new people, make some digital friends, and, pitch your stuff. So measuring success, and this is a school of hard knocks effort. I think for a lot of brands, a lot of stuff like this gets pitched a little bit. They never pitch enough, and they end up spending a lot of time on article or content that at some point in the strategy is just a misallocation of resources. The point is that regardless of what fell flat, if it's like the content, its presentation itself wasn't good enough, or the idea wasn't good enough, I just if you got pickup, that needs to be If you got a backlink from a newspaper, that needs to be your success metric. Uh, Again, a lot of this happens in companies, and what happens in companies that there's office dynamics, and there's a business that needs to be run. Like, people end up calling it a day and giving themselves high fives more often than they should. Well, we published this cool article. Well, articles are, it's good for a website. This is still a success story. uh, I mean, that's fine. However, you want to look at what you did, and you made social content and people liked it, and maybe this random blog in Kazakhstan like picked up your article. Cool, that is a success story. If your expectation was to get picked up by a big blog and like earn actual traffic and get measurable results, you failed. You need to set clear expectations on pickup, and if you're going to keep doing it and you fail, change stuff. This is not about, everybody wins, we're all happy family, cool, we published a blog article. This is about getting a publication, a blog, or getting places to share your stuff. If that doesn't happen, then you need to change something. Bottom line. Oh, that is it. Uh, critical opportunity for the big prize in marketing, organic growth, and out of your winning lottery ticket and spending $100 and getting 10,000 bucks back. Uh, Thank you for listening, and let me know if there's any questions.